Now it's my great honor to introduce a great panel, but it's moderated by my friend Dave Lefkowitz, better known as Lefty Lefkowitz. He was joking that nobody could pronounce his name correctly, but I've known him for a long time. I got it a couple days ago. Lefty serves as Assistant Superintendent at the Louisiana Department of Education. He is a co-leader for Jump Start and Course Choice, two innovative programs to transform career and technical education. In his previous career as a management consultant, Lefty helped large institutions transition from monopolies to competitive, customer-oriented enterprises. Please join me in welcoming Lefty to the podium.
Thank you, Frank. It's a pleasure to join you all to talk about how high schools can turn out students who are ready to work. College is a great option for kids, but not every young person has to attain a four-year college degree to have meaningful life work and a ticket to the middle class. In Louisiana, 81% of our students do not attain that four-year degree, but we have incumbent upon us the responsibility to prepare them all for a successful adult life. Since I've joined that state's Department of Education, I've been focused on how to make sure that kids have good options to develop meaningful careers. These are two quick slides. I'm the moderator of the panel. The best moderators say the least, so I'm going to go very quickly through these slides and then call the panel up to the stage. I am one of the leaders of a program called Jump Start. It's a new paradigm for career and technical education. Actually, this year is wrong. It's starting next school year, not this school year, but starting in 2017-18. Louisiana students will have to pass courses that form an academic core, some career readiness courses, and then earn industry-based credentials in order to graduate high school with a Jump Start career diploma. One of the key steps we've taken to reinforce the importance of career and technical education is our state's accountability system. That's our state system that assigns schools and district letter grades, provides equal weighting for career and technical education excellence and academic excellence. So a school gets just as many points in our accountability system for graduating a kid who gets an advanced welding credential or an advanced IT credential as they do for a student who graduates with a good score on an AP test. And lastly, we're focusing in our state on micro-industry engagement. There's a lot of work between institutions or among institutions to make sure that kids and teachers have access to industry and industry pathways. We're trying to complement that because we have so many students who live in rural, remote areas. With micro-industry engagement, where students have a one-on-one or one-on-few interaction that's structured and meaningful with a workplace expert in an industry sector that they want to explore. We found a system called Nepris that's inexpensive and scalable that enables any student anywhere to interact with any type of industry expert. And we're trying to give them curated interactions that help them develop their workplace communication skills. Next slide, please. We've pursued a lot of innovative initiatives in Louisiana. We have 47 graduation pathways for Jump Start, over 100 industry credential fact sheets. We have a virtual workplace experience course that helps students who are in remote locations or students who are incarcerated or in alternative high school settings still have the ability to have meaningful workplace interaction. We have a micro-enterprise credential that we've created with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber that helps students learn the types of skills that make them successful in small business and one day, we hope, successful small business entrepreneurs. All of these resources are available for you to review and to download on our website, the All Things Jump Start portal. Later in October, we're going to be launching the Jump Start Video Network and the Jump Start Automated Text Response System. Those are two communication methods that we hope speak directly to parents, families, students, that give them information about Jump Start and help them understand that their future, their students' future, is not limited by their parish boundary. We're going to have regional mentor networks where every high school student in Louisiana engages with an industry expert. And we have many other initiatives that we'll be launching in the years ahead. Anybody who have any questions, you can contact me at lefty@la.gov. Like Sharon Bono, I only need one name. Everybody knows who Lefty is. So with that quick introduction of my own work, I'm going to ask the panel, please, to come up. The 4 panel members, please come up. We're going to talk about what's going on in California. They've given me notes about each of the panelists, so while they come up, let me just introduce who they are. Leslie Lippman is a board member of the California Teachers Association, representing approximately 14,000 educators working in districts and in charter schools in the Los Angeles area. She's taught social studies in Santa Clarita for 22 years and is the recipient of the NEA Foundation Award for Teaching Excellence. Richard Martinez serves as the superintendent of Pomona Unified School District, a district of about 30,000 students in San Gabriel Valley. Marco Petrucci has been CEO of Green Dot since 2008, serving 13,500 students in low-income neighborhoods in Los Angeles, Memphis, and Tacoma. And Virginia Tanawang is a senior vice president of human resources at Universal Studios, Hollywood, and Universal City Walk, overseeing all hiring and internal communications with the park. We'll start by having each of our speakers, I'm told in alphabetical order, share some context about why they're here today and your perspective on the challenges that you face around workforce development. Then we'll have some questions and some time for some audience Q&A. So first, please, Leslie.
Good morning. Oh, okay. I'm Leslie Lippman from the California Teachers Association. I'm not sure exactly if we're showing the slides at this point or not, but there we go. Okay. So I'm here on behalf of the California Teachers Association, and I thought that it would be important that actually, as a statewide association, that you actually had some statewide statistics. We have 296,000 teachers in public schools. We have over 6 million students. We have a severe teacher shortage that's starting now and growing, with the need to hire 22,000 more teachers over the next few years. And we're seeing a huge issue in the pipeline for those wanting to enter into the profession. You have the statistics, I don't know if you can actually see them, but we have 6.2 million students in California public schools. Of that number, 22% are English language learners. 48% of the student population is ethnically diverse, with Hispanic students outweighing the majority of the student population at 53% at this point. We have a state dropout rate of 10%. And then if you actually go to the next slide, what you have here is a survey that we did with with one of our partners, EdSource, in the next one after that is career readiness, as to what our teachers believe is the most essential needs in order to prepare for career and college readiness. And if you look, 78% of those surveyed point to critical thinking skills as one of the top 3 most important ways to assess whether a student's adequately prepared for college and other post-secondary training. And the other one will show the same thing for career. Only 8% of our folks pointed to scoring proficient on a single test or the current Smarter Balance assessments as one of those key indicators to assess college and career readiness. We think it's important that there are career academies, linked learning programs, technical choices, more school counselors to inform students of their career potential and college potential, and resources that the schools need in order to prepare those students for all of those. In terms of challenges, I think as folks will talk about, people have to understand that for the past 15 years, public schools have been judged by a single test. And therefore, then all of the focus has been on making sure that those scores were what those scores needed to be. And as that has eased with the passage of ESSA, we're developing a new accountability system at the state level in terms of how that would roll out so that it goes beyond test scores. It allows us to prepare our students for bright futures that's not just going to be measured, school accountability is not just going to be measured by a single bubble on a test. And through that accountability system that is still being worked out by the state board, we're developing rubrics for assessing schools, and we can actually, through the local control funding formula, impact where local district funding goes to support the work of college and career readiness. And allow for a combination of quantitative and qualitative data to inform those choices and make sure that there are programs that are prepping our students for their future. And that's been our focus and will continue to be our focus. I think the other key point, and then I'll let the others talk, is we need resources. I know that it was talked about in terms of how much of the state budget was there, but folks need to understand that the economic downturn devastated school programs. And we are just now slowly coming out of that. And the reality is that 4 years ago, Prop 30 saved public education in this state. And I have to do my other piece here and tell you that we're going to need to continue that with Prop 55. That in order to maintain where we're at and where we're going, districts are going to need to have adequate, stable resources to continue to improve and fund and provide the education that all of our students deserve. And with that.
Thank you very much. Richard?
Very good. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that Pomona Unified was invited to this meeting. Pomona Unified is in the eastern side of the county, for those of you that don't know that area. It is on the other side of Kellogg Hill. Many people think it's San Bernardino County, and so they don't remember it's part of LA. But thank you very much for inviting me here. We're a district, as you heard, of 30,000 students. Of the 30,000 students, 89% of those are on the free and reduced lunch program. So we have a pretty significant impoverished program, our community. Part of our district is Diamond Bar and Phillips Ranch, it's still part of Pomona. But it is, sometimes people think that is another district. It is part of our community as well. It is somewhat of a tale of two cities. Sometimes you see the haves and the have-nots, and you hear about that even within the community. Currently, we have about 9,000 high school students that we're trying to prepare for life. We want to prepare them for career or college. Of course, we started at preschool, but right now, I know our conversation is what are we doing with this age group and how are we preparing them to move into the world of post-secondary education or a career. 39% of our population finish with A through G requirements completed and ready for a Cal State or a UC system. There's a little piece I want you to know that despite some successes, and we've seen some big growth in our system in the last 10 years as far as student success, 10% of our population is homeless. So we're anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 students that find themselves in a homeless situation at any given day. 500 of our students are foster care youth. So looking at transitional aging out youth from 18 to 19 years old is something we also have to consider in our town. About 300 of our students are in probation of some form, so they're part of the court system and working through that. Despite those challenges, we do see the success. The number of students, I believe on this first slide, shows that 3,920 are projected to be in some form of career technical education classes that are offered throughout the system of Pomona Unified. We've grown since 2015-14 by a few hundred students, keeping in mind that we've been in this budget crisis for years, and it's until the last couple of years that we've seen a change in that area. Can you move to the next slide, please? I'll press the button. I don't have that here. So preparing our students for success in college and careers, we always focus on these three areas: academic rigor, relationship with workforce development. That's not only students, but that's our system. And then we want to make sure that what we're presenting and what we're teaching is relevant to the business industry. So the partnerships and the collaborations are critical. We want to make sure that, in fact, we are teaching and preparing them for what's out there. We currently have partnerships and MOUs with the Workforce Development Board and partners of LA County's American Job Center of California, and also for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. POSD is also in partnership with the Pomona Chamber of Commerce, which is a local group that we're with, and that's led through College and Career and Workforce Development Task Force. The task force is composed of various state economic development department. The regional rep is South Bay Workforce Investment Board and the LA County GAIN program. We also have local businesses and agencies through the Chamber of Commerce that support the effort. So these are just to name a few of the partnerships that we have. The Mount San Antonio Adult Education Consortium that has memberships from Mount SAC and adult schools. This is also another group that supports us along with our San Gabriel ROP. Our district has put together a strategic plan that we don't call it the education plan of the district. We call it the Community of Pomona Unified and Diamond Bar. We want to make sure that people understand that this plan is about the community and not just the school district. Our 4 focus areas that we have determined are a priority are student success, always right in front, talent development. Not only talent development by employees or for employees, but also for those that will succeed, the teachers and all those that are in current positions. Community partnerships that we're looking at here is critical, and that's the 3rd area that we're focused on, is how do we increase those partnerships. And with all that being said, is how do we become the urban district that many of you may say, isn't that where we heard there was a shooting, a death? Isn't that where there's gang issues? We may have that in our community, just like anywhere else, but we want to become, and I believe we're heading in that direction, to becoming the district of distinction. Because in an urban setting like ours, we have seen some incredible success where students become entrepreneurs, where students move on to places, wonderful places like this trade school, and also to those prestigious colleges in the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Midwest. Just real quickly, some examples of who we have supporting us. The National Academies Foundation. We have 3 schools currently that are NAF schools that allow for internships, and we're always looking for additional internships. That's why I'm here, hoping that some of you might be interested in providing internship opportunities for those that are moving in the areas of health and science, the business services side, those that are going into engineering, those that are going into film. And so that is something that I'm very much interested in ensuring that they have internship opportunities. We also have Cisco Academy, Ganesha High School, other options for students, charter schools, magnets. We wanted to make sure students have options, parents have options, so their students could move on and move forward. So it's about empowering community and about empowering students. Thank you. I apologize for going a little long there.
That's great stuff. Thank you, Richard. Marco.
Hi. Is this on?
Press your button.
Is this on now?
Press it hard.
You see, this is on? All right, good. Green Dot Public Schools, we're a nonprofit that manages charter schools, similar to Ambassador Baxter's The Alliance. We serve about 11,000 students in the Los Angeles area. Middle schools and high schools only. We don't do elementary, and our kind of center of gravity is Watts. That's where we have, within Watts and 2 to 3 mile radius of Watts, we have probably 60% of our students. But we go as far west as Lenox and as far east as Boyle Heights. Our mission is to help transform public education so all students graduate prepared for college, leadership, and life. If you go to the next slide, we serve students from families in the bottom 10% of household income. Just to give you some statistic, about 93, 94% are free and reduced lunch. more free and reduced lunch, it can be up to 400% of the poverty line. So when you look at the poverty line, we actually, 3/4 of our families are below the poverty line compared to about 16% in California. Our average annual household income for our families is below $20,000 a year. So picture that for a second. So we are very focused, and a lot of my comments today are going to be focused on the context of how these students face their career in education. I am also, I believe, ferociously going to defend today our number one objective, which is to actually send all these kids to and through a 4-year college. I know a lot of people, when we say that, roll their eyes and say, does everybody really need to go to college? Generally, those people are actually would never agree not to send their own kids to college. We believe that it is our mission to send them, and it's very simply because of the following statistics. 70% of children in the top quartile complete a 4-college degree, 9% of children in the bottom 25% of household income graduate with a 4-year degree. In the families in the 10%, the bottom 10% of household income, the statistic is actually 3 to 5% complete a 4-year degree. But here's the killer thing. Of those who do complete it, 90% escape poverty. And so we, and almost nothing else matters to us. We need to put these students in a pathway to escape poverty and change their communities. And so we ferociously defend our goal to get them through a 4-year college as the easiest and cleanest way out of poverty for them and their families.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Marco.
Go ahead. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Marco, Virginia.
Yay. Good morning. So I guess I'm the only business representative here, which I'm happy to be sharing the podium here. So just a little bit about Universal Studios Hollywood, the entertainment capital of Los Angeles. I'm sure you all know that. So we were just thrilled beyond belief with our opening of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter earlier this year in April. It's done extraordinarily well, and most importantly for all of you out here and for this community is that we've added a lot of jobs. So we've grown our workforce. We've more than doubled it in the last few years. What oftentimes people don't know about us, we are a theme park, we're City Walk, a large retail destination. We're like a little city. So we have utilities, we have infrastructure, we have architects that design the buildings and the rides. So we have a multitude of occupations, which translates to jobs. So there are really a lot of job opportunities available in our workforce. What slides are up here? So there's the numbers in terms of how we've grown in the last year to 2 years. We are also extraordinarily proud that we represent the demographics of Los Angeles. So we sit, just adjacent to Hollywood, and we have a very large hourly workforce. Most of that workforce, it's their first-time job. We have many, many people who come for a summer or a holiday season job, and they end up finding a career, and they stay for many years. We just recently had a service recognition event, and we had employees that started when they were 16 years old, and they're celebrating 40 years of service in senior management. So it's just a good reminder for us as a business community that there are opportunities for people. I'll be a little bit in the middle, I think, of the panel here this morning. I'm a big believer in people have to find their way, that it's great to have the ambition to go to a 4-year college. I don't think it's for everyone. I think that community college is an excellent, excellent choice, especially as young people are finding their way and trying to figure out what they want to do. I'm also a big believer in trying different things. That's why an employer such as ourselves, where we have so many different job opportunities, you can come in and try sales. You can try working in culinary. You can try a technical field. And I think that, at least I'll speak for myself and for my family, sometimes it is trial and error. Some people, they know early in life, they may know at junior high that a certain career path they they want to go on. But I think that's more rare than it is common. So the other that I wanted to talk about is in terms of education is I do think that technical skills are critically important. And when I say technical skills, somebody could be, just really gifted in English, but they still need to know computer skills. And I think wherever in secondary education we can introduce more, just have students be more comfortable with computer skills. That's really, really critical. Doing web design, HTML, any of those types of skills are very, very useful as they continue on. The other part that I would say as an employer, especially an employer that hires, we will hire 6,000 hourly positions by the end of the year. We're already at like 5,400. And what we also look for are, people talk about communication skills. It's really customer service skills. It's having great hospitality, being able to engage with a customer. And then it's also, somebody spoke earlier about critical thinking. I am a big believer in the educational system that we really need to teach critical thinking. Even if you're a high school student and it's your first job, there are certain problem-solving skills that as an employer we really look for. So I think I'll leave my comments there.
Thank you, Virginia. All right, I'm going to ask a couple of questions of the panel members, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. And Helen, I'm looking to you for any signal you want to give me. I know how to follow orders. This is 28 years of marriage talking. First question, in Louisiana, we are spending a lot of time trying to help students prepare for careers. We are creating, in partnership with schools, a new generation of career readiness courses that focus on helping kids engage effectively with unfamiliar adults and practice their communication skills, engagement skills. We're not making the headway we would like, and we're finding we have a hard time getting students who are on an academic pathway to even participate in these courses. So I'm going to go in the reverse order now. So Virginia, you're going to get to go first. What do you think are the one or two key steps that high school can take to prepare students for career?
I think the partnership I think that all of us in business really need to support high schools. We need to get involved with secondary education. I think that's excellent that you're talking about that in Louisiana in terms of preparing students for careers and the communication. It really is very critical. Years ago, I remember when I first started in the entertainment industry that we would oftentimes partner with LAUSD on the ROP program. I can't tell you how many high school students had an ROP experience and then ended up interning with us and were hired into jobs in the entertainment industry. Those programs have been discontinued, but I think it's really incumbent on us in business to forge these partnerships with high schools and to really provide these internship opportunities. And I think, the other little plug I would add that I think most people of my generation would agree with is that because there is so much online learning, there's so much that students can do in terms of computer learning, doing their curriculum online. It's taken away from the dialogue, and I think that that's also what builds the critical thinking and the discussion. So I really encourage in secondary education that you can't over-rely on online classes, and you need to bring back that dialogue, the discussion amongst students and teachers.
Okay, Marco?
Yeah, if you're working K-12, whiplash is a work hazard. The nation has gone from an incredibly narrow curriculum with emphasis only on English and math, and now the entire trend is towards broadening the curriculum. And I often find myself in shouldn't they all know coding? Should they know a foreign language? What about arts? What about music? What about creative skills? What about coding? And so the answer to all of those things is yes. All of those things matter, but it's very hard in a 7 or 8-hour school day to make every kid proficient on everything. So we have actually, in many ways, foundationally focused on one skill that beats them all, we believe, which is literacy. We believe that there is no job that ultimately good communication skills, good writing skills, actually reading complex text and really understanding it would not give you access to a ton of options later in your career. So good, strong literacy is at the core of what we do. And you saw the statistics around our family income, but it also reflects the fact that our students enter into our schools in the bottom 10% also, unfortunately, in English language skills. But we have perfected a system around literacy where those kids actually beat the average middle-class white student in California coming out of the 11th grade in terms of literacy skills. So we believe that's foundational, and that's what we focus on. And then we expose them to a ton of other stuff. But without that foundational skill of literacy, writing, and communications, we believe that it's difficult to be successful in almost anything else.
Thank you. Richard.
Very good. Just wanted to share with you a couple of things that we're doing in our system. Part of career technical education that we do in our system, we do online soft skills training. And I know we talk about online, and that seems kind of odd if you want to communicate and you're doing this online. It's really to pick up those skill sets that are needed so when you do have those interactions in communication with the business partner or with a potential business partner, we want them ready. In addition to that, we have an organization called Bright Prospect. And this is more for those students that are college-bound, moving forward. We want to prepare them for those interviews. They have an opportunity to meet with future employers. And so they interview them, they interact with them. So we set up a mock situation. So that way business partners come in, these students come dressed, they come dressed with very good instructions as far as you're going to come with a tie, you're going to come with a business dress, you're going to make sure that you're ready for success. So they have an opportunity to interact, but also an opportunity to pick up those skill sets so that way they're ready for that interaction. So the other piece is civic engagement. We want to make sure our students at all levels have an opportunity to engage in community projects, community events where they're engaging in communication. Because truly, literacy is so important, but they get to practice it at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm going to ask you for some references to some of those things that you've talked about. They sound useful.
So I agree with everything that had been said before, but I think that one area that's lacking is the connection with the teachers. And I think that that's essential. I think internships provide students with a phenomenal opportunity to get those experiences, but actually the teachers need those experiences also. And one of my districts has had a program, I'm still not sure if it's in existence this year, where actually the businesses invited the teachers to their workplace and gave them an in-depth tour of what they do, so that the teachers could then go back to school and embed in their lessons the skills that they saw were necessary in those jobs, in those workplaces. And so if it was, in one case I know it was touring an animation place. So like to really see what the computer skills were, what the drawing skills were, so they could go back and say, okay, how do I reshape my lessons to incorporate students learning those skills in their future? But in essence, I will say I'm a career teacher. So I've only been in the teaching profession and haven't had the opportunity to work in those places. We need that experience as well. And so I want to, I think those internships are important, but to go back to the school day and to embed those activities into our lesson plans and we actually need some experience with those things. And so I would say that if you could make those connections with your neighboring districts to facilitate that, because not only is that important, but actually some of the career pathway credentials that the state is rolling out that gets districts more funding require a ton of hours in specific fields. And teachers don't have that time or those abilities to take that And so we would, that would actually be a phenomenal opportunity to allow a district to gain access to those funds because they would have the teachers credentialed to make them eligible for the Perkins funding. And if there was a way to coordinate those connections, you've solved a huge problem for everybody. And I think that's a key piece as well.
That's a great comment, and that's going to segue perfectly, well done, to my second and final question before we open it up for Q&A. In Louisiana, we're focusing on one or two big policies that we hope help transform CT. One of them is teacher preparation. And so we are not only offering summer workshops or summer training opportunities for teachers to earn their industry-based credentials, but we're trying to come up with externships, as Leslie just described, including virtual externships for teachers who are located remotely, and also come up with on-demand training so that if teachers don't want to give up their vacation time in the summer or the district can't pay for them to travel to a central training location, they have that opportunity. The other is we've developed dedicated funding sources that do, as Leslie also said, provide funding for some of the more expensive CTE specialties. So those are the one or two policies that we focused on in Louisiana. I'd like to start with Leslie this time and bring it back. What are the one or two policies that you believe are the biggest hurdles facing high schools as they help students prepare for college, career, and adult success?
Still, the biggest hurdle is funding. And funding to allow schools to develop the career tech programs again. Those programs have been decimated. And part of the reason why they've been decimated is if you're being judged on reading and math scores, you're going to take away those opportunities from those students to have those classes to give them more reading and math classes. So in essence, we took them, not to say that those were the best connections to schools either, but as we reshuffle with the local control formula, we should have the ability then to have multiple measures and allow for those programs to come back and thrive. I think one of the key issues that's going to hinder that is the need for teachers to teach those classes. Some of that is teachers who are in the profession to get those skills and get those credentials. That requires a lot of time and in some cases funding to go and do that. That's one issue. To bring folks who are currently in the field into the classroom, here in California, we have a problem. Those folks have a problem financially if they make teaching a second career with the Social Security offset. But because we are a public pension, we are in the CalSTRS program, those folks that earned all of their Social Security credit and come into work in the K-12 environment are going to lose their Social Security in a substantial amount given the way the offset works at the national level. And so that becomes a barrier for those folks to provide their expertise in the K-12 setting, and until that's addressed, it's not financially feasible for those folks to come into our profession, and so that's also the big hurdle as well.
Changing Social Security policy. You're hunting big game, hunting big game. Okay,
Go big or
Richard.
go home.
I agree with you, Leslie, regarding funding. Funding is going to be an issue for us in this area for quite a while as we see funding declining and not going up. But leveraging partnerships and leveraging the funding that we do have, state money, LCAP, as we have that in front of us, we focused on project-based learning in our classrooms at the high school, but all the way down to kindergarten. We want to make sure that students have those hands-on experiences. We also wanted to focus on teachers, and you mentioned it, and it's really about choice. So when it comes to what is it that we need the most as an individual teacher, we want teachers to have decision-making power. We want them to have a voice, a choice, and the time to do it. What is the best time in what format? Is it on a computer? Is it with small groups? Is it chat rooms? So we're using all the platforms available to us that really deal and support the millennial teacher, or the teacher that's more my age, a bit older than the millennials. So I want to make sure that they have an opportunity. And the other item is Community schools. We're rolling out community schools in our southern side of town because we want our community, our students, and our teachers to have bigger decision-making power in what happens in the future of the child, ensuring that they become some young adults. We're at the starting point of community schools, and we want to scale that up district-wide.
Great, great. Thank you, Richard. Marco.
Yeah, in terms of policy, I agree with the funding 100%. The big issue that we're facing right now is because we're so dependent on great teachers and we have a teacher shortage, teacher housing, workforce housing is a huge issue. Our teachers cannot afford to live in this town. They cannot afford to live in Silicon Valley. They cannot afford to live in the Bay Area. There are many areas in California where they are shut down from housing. And they make enough not to qualify, however, for low-income housing. And so we have a real issue around affordable housing for teachers that has really become a huge barrier for us. The second policy, again, sounds outside of education, but I do think we need to reform our justice system. A lot of our students, particularly in low-income community, are unfairly targeted, sometimes commit small, non-violent crimes out of desperation, out of silliness, whatever it is. It destroys their lives. And I think if we can actually be a little bit more understanding of some of the situations and have a way of actually redeeming some of these students, they can become phenomenal citizens if we give them a chance. So I would advocate for that.
All right, thank you, Marco. It would be really interesting to see if there could be some partnership with government, business, and K-12 education to provide subsidized housing for teachers. That would be an interesting big game sort of initiative. Virginia.
Well, I would certainly agree with everything that's been said. I think, it's very obvious that we have funding issues here in the state. I think having a son-in-law that's a teacher, I have 2 nieces that are teachers just starting out, and it is tough. It's really hard in terms of what we're paying teachers and to live in a city like Los Angeles. So I think that subsidized housing is a really interesting concept. I would just say in terms of, as Leslie was saying, I think is great. It's all of us, it's incumbent on us in business to welcome teachers in and to showcase what we're doing. We've done a lot of it. I think that we can do more. I love this idea of what you're doing in Louisiana in terms of summer break. I would encourage, as I said earlier, I think not to do just the online or distance learning, but where you can have hands-on programs and where teachers can really understand what a manager or what an employer is saying in terms of skills that they need and how to ready the workforce. I think it's incredibly valuable because we all get stuck in our silos. I'm stuck in my silo for what I've done, and I'm sure you are as educators. So the more that we can break down those barriers, I think it's really helpful.